My name is Jordan, and I'm in a band called La Dispute, and I'm holding a copy of one of my favorite records. It's called The Sun That Never Sets by one of my favorite bands, Neurosis. I gotta tell you why I love it so much. I'm not very good at that. This is probably my favorite heavy record of all time, one of my top 10 overall. I picked this record to talk about because I just rediscovered my undying passion for it. It had been a while since I'd listened to it, and one of the drives on our last tour back home about a month ago, I put this record on while I was driving with our drummer, Brad, who's my cousin, and one of my favorite people to talk music to, and we got to talking about this record, and he doesn't normally like metal and heavier stuff like this, but he loves this record, and part of it is because he's a massive production nerd, and this record is produced by Steve Albini, and the entire way through it literally sounds like you are in the room with Neurosis while they play. It's wild. The drum sounds are incredible, and that's normally not something I notice. Like, normally I can listen to a heavy record and be like, oh shit, that's so heavy and it's awesome, but I never really take note of production. And this record, every time I listen to it, it blows me away how near it sounds and how impactful and immediate it is. The dynamics are crazy. Some of the heaviest parts in any record I've ever heard are just drums on this record and nothing else. And yeah, it's super haunting, dark, and beautifully heavy and creative, and it's something I never get tired of. So yeah, check this record out. Check all of Neurosis records out, because they're all outstanding. They've been a band for probably 30 years now, and they still make important and relevant records. It's on my bucket list to see this band live. I never have, which is ridiculous. So hopefully that I can cross off next time they do a tour back where we're from. Yeah, Neurosis. My favorite song on this record, well, the first half of the record is, it's all really outstanding, and all the songs are very unique to each other and important in the flow of the record, but my favorite part of this record is the actual title track, The Sun That Never Sets. Ambulance, which is not surprising because people are moshing really hard in there, like too hard. It made me uncomfortable. Anyway, it's just this build. It starts with drums and this really weird feedback, and we're gonna get run over by a train. Pause. Unpause. The train's gone. My favorite track on the record is the title track, Sun That Never Sets, and it starts off with just drums and what is the most bizarre and consistent feedback noise. And it might not even be feedback. We were debating this in the van when we listened to the record. It's really strange, and it builds on top of that, and there's just these really like menacing, drawn-out chords and a vocal part that repeats with some variation lyrically, all leading to this really massive come down and crescendo, and it's so heavy and so powerful, and it makes you in a weird way feel primal and medieval and like you're marching into battle, I guess. And it's something that seriously, every time I listen to this record, when it happens, I'm like, oh, and it's one of many moments in the record where I have that reaction, where every single time it gives me chills, and it's part of why I love it. I mentioned that Neurosis has been a band for a long time, and they put out a lot of records, and this is my favorite. It's not the only one that I love. Pretty much everything they've done is in its own right a really powerful piece of art. Neurosis started out, there was like a much rawer, like almost like cross punk early on, but like they really evolved into this full artistic production sonically, and there's some of the earlier records that I love for the grit. Times of Grace is another one of my favorite records, and then the new records, Given to the Rising and Honor Found in Decay, are really great, but this to me is like the perfect intersection of the early, like more developmental period of Neurosis and what is now. So like this to me perfectly bridges the gap between like that really raw, again menacing tone and like the real polished sound in some of the new records, and I think it's partly music and it's partly Steve Albini's production, which again, I don't normally notice production, but some of my favorite records, PJ Harvey's Rid of Me, McCluskey to Dallas, just a lot of my favorite records have been recorded by Steve Albini, so maybe I should pay more attention to that. But yeah, I think this is just the perfect intersection of Neurosis history and their creative output.